Eric Greenberg, and let's slide into the program the big 7-footer himself, the NBA champion, the UNC legend. I'm buttering him up tonight. He is Brendan Haywood. He's going to let us in his house a little later on tonight. Hello, men.
Why are you buttering him up?
Oh, you'll see.
Okay.
We got
I didn't understand that.
He knows what's coming along here.
Okay.
All right. There is no other topic other than LeBron right now in the NBA. Yesterday, the Lakers lost with LeBron back in the lineup for the second game. They lost to Kyle Lowry and the Raptors. How good was Lowry? LeBron, though, over his last two games, averaging 18 points, shooting 52%. But the issue now for the Lakers after losing to both the Kings and the Raptors is where they sit in the standings. With just 8 games to go, here we go. The Lakers teetering on going down into the 7th spot, which would put them in the play-in, which means they'd have to play their way in to the NBA playoffs. Last night, LeBron, well, let's just say he's not the biggest fan of the NBA's new play-in tournament.
Well, it doesn't matter at the end of the day if I'm not 100% close to 100%. It don't matter, where we land, So, that's my mindset. And, if this happens to we end up at 6th or 5th or whatever the case may be, or if we end up in the, the playoff, whatever that thing is, whoever came up with that need to be fired. But whatever.
Okay, whoever came up with that ish needs to be fired. Can't imagine the league office too thrilled with that statement, considering the NBA Players Association, of which LeBron is a vice president for, approved the new play-in tournament this year. So, B. Wood, let's start with you. What are your thoughts on LeBron? Really? Why are you smiling? What are your thoughts?
I know, because you texted me before the show. But continue.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate you.
What are your thoughts on LeBron's comments?
I didn't really love the comments because, like you said, LeBron is part of the Players Union, and he signed off on this, and the players knew that this was coming, and I didn't hear any of this at the beginning of the season. I'm always a keep the same energy type of guy, and at the beginning of the season, I didn't hear any of this for LeBron. And so now that the Lakers are faced with the play-in game, now it looks like he doesn't like the idea of it, and I just don't think that comes off well. At the end of the day, LeBron never imagined in his wildest dreams that the Lakers would be in this position, and now that they're here, he don't want any part of that play-in game.
Yeah, and, I think there's a lot to speak to that, Smitty, about with these 8 games left now. The Lakers have some work to do. And listen, LeBron and company, they've been hit hard by the injury bug. They've been hit hard now. Dennis Schroeder's going to be out for the next few games, possibly the entire regular season with health and safety protocol. But there's also something to you put yourself in the position that you're in.
For sure. I think one thing is I like what B. Wood said, keep the same energy. You didn't text me, so I'm going to talk to B. Wood. So B. Wood, one thing I love about this is I'm looking at the Lakers. A couple questions I have. Yes, LeBron and AD, they're coming back. But I didn't see the energy from the entire group. You got to play with better energy. And then also for me, if you're going to play big, you got to play big. Toronto Raptors out-rebounded them yesterday, 49-44. So if you're going to have Drummond, AD, and LeBron out on the floor with KCP, that's a huge lineup. And I'm under the old school notion, if I'm going to play big, we're not going to be able to play fast because Toronto was outrunning them. Well, we got to dominate and post up. I saw too many jump shots for them. Go down in the paint and win, especially if you don't have your rhythm. So I'm a little concerned, and also to see how they're going to play these 3 centers when I know their best lineup is 80 at the center spot. When you have Drummond, you have Montrezl Harrell, and Marc Gasol, who says he needs to start and should be starting. So right. I can't wait to see how Frank Vogel.
Marc Gasol, he didn't say that.
Several weeks ago.
Several weeks ago, B. Wood.
And he did not demand to start. He just was. It came as a shock to him that this was happening.
I can speak for myself and tell B. Wood what I was trying to say.
I just want to clarify. Okay. Marc Gasol did not demand to start.
I didn't say he demanded.
Okay.
What did I say?
What did you say?
He said he asked he should be starting.
Correct. Okay. Let me put another point on this, and this is what surprised me about LeBron's comments last night. He's almost an old school guy when it comes to playing. Plays a ton of minutes. plays a lot, right? And barely misses games except for significant injuries. He is a dude that has had to be forced out of games by organizations because he wants to play so much. So you admire that from him. But what I think needs to be understood here is the potential start of the NBA playoffs has the opportunity to do a couple of things for the NBA. Number one, the excitement of the March Madness tournament, I think, could be there for the NBA. The number two is the television ratings. The number three, which is really trumping everything, let's be honest, is the extra revenue that it's going to bring into the league. And for LeBron not to see that only because they're in the position right now, the disadvantageous position of having to play in that game, is a little disappointing because this is for the greater good. It really has nothing to do specifically with the Lakers.
Is it for the greater good? When you talk about the revenue of the league, the the players will get a cut of that BRI, but the owners make way more off these playoff games than the players do. If you're telling the truth about this, players actually only get paid for the regular season. They don't actually get checks for the playoffs. Your checks stop at the end of the regular season.
Yep.
And so at the end of the day, this is going to, so the per game, they're going to be playing more games. Yeah, there's going to be more basketball related revenue, but their actual game checks are going to be less. You're going to be playing more games for free.
Brendan, without getting too much into the weeds of it, yes, you may not receive a paycheck in the playoffs, but the total revenue that the league brings in over the course of this basketball calendar is what determines what the salary cap is next year. So the more money the league can earn from these play-in games and playoff games will dictate how much money players will make next season.
The BRI.
Correct.
You're saying. Yes, but B. Wood is saying regular season. Your check stop.
Jared, I've done this for 14 years. I totally understand that. I understood how my salary worked. I was just saying that players don't actually get paid for doing the playoffs, and this is extra games where they won't be getting paid. I know that the BRI, whether it slides up or down, is going to dictate the salaries. But at the end of the day, I'm not sure if the playing game is going to be worth it for some guys. You know, some guys making $30, $40 million. I don't know if it's going to slide the scale up that high. But we're going down the road. We don't even need to go down.
All right. Well, the bottom line is the Lakers are in a weird spot. And now without Dennis Schroeder as well.
They play slow, and that's the one part that I was talking about. And you look at the backup point guard situation. THT, I love the way he plays.
Yeah.
Plays hard, but he's not a point guard. I mean, LeBron James is going to play pseudo point guard throughout his career, but without Dennis Schroeder, there was no breakdown of the defense. You look at Alex Caruso, plays a little bit of point guard, handles the basketball, but we didn't see this. Even if that's a miss, that gives a offensive rebound and lane to everybody. Because once I can beat my guy, and if I'm playing with B. Wood, whether I make it or not, and I draw his guy over, there should be no guard to get down on B. Wood to be able to box him out. And I think we didn't see that. There was nobody getting into the paint off the dribble because of quickness. They are a huge team, and I thought they should have posted up much more last night just to make the game slow, and pound it inside.
So the Lakers are technically in the 6th spot right now. Right behind them is the Portland Trailblazers, who are also in action tonight. While the Lakers are home for the Nuggets, the Blazers continue their long road trip in Atlanta. And, man, they have been great, right? They're on this 6-game road trip. They came into this road trip with a losing streak. We're like, what's going on with Portland? They rip off 4 straight wins to start this 6-game road trip. And now they had some unfortunate circumstances, as I started to get into at the beginning of the show, with the late arrival into Atlanta and this terrible weather we've had down here in Atlanta forced them out of their hotel room where they had to go into a safe space inside the hotel that they were staying at early this morning. So we'll see how that bodes for Portland. But B. Wood, as you look at what Portland has left, this is certainly a team that's been hammered by injuries just like the Lakers. They would love to avoid being in that play-in tournament, get out of the 7th spot.
Yeah, Portland would definitely love to get out of that 7th spot, and for a while it didn't look like that was possible. But with the Lakers faltering down the stretch right now, Portland has the opportunities. What they have to do is they have to take care of business. They have to get these wins. It starts with Atlanta tonight, and they almost have to start treating these last 8 games like playoffs, like the playoffs. If you want to avoid the play-in game, then go out there, win as much of these games as possible, and put the pressure on the Lakers to try to win right now. Every time Portland gets a win, the Lakers feel it because we don't know how available LeBron's going to be. Dennis Schroeder's not going to be there for the next 10 to 14 days. Anthony Davis hasn't looked like Anthony Davis all year long, and the Lakers are scrambling for answers right now. If you're the Portland Trailblazers, don't come out lackadaisical. Come out with the right focus night in and night out. Put the pressure on the Lakers to win these games.
And I would say is just looking at both teams, the Blazers, like you said, went through their injuries early. they're getting healthy at the right time. C.J. McCollum yesterday looked like the C.J. at the beginning of the season. So if you have a guy like that can carry you a quarter or 2 quarters with Dame Lillard, and I think Nurkic is starting to get healthy. They need to get him going a little bit more, but he has these games under his belt. I would say, just looking at it on paper, no, the Lakers are more talented. But right now, without LeBron, without Dennis Schroeder, like B would say, I'm still waiting for Anthony Davis. We know it's going to take some time, but they don't have that much time. So I would give the advantage
time running out, Smitty,
for the Portland Trailblazers right now because they're starting to look and round out like a team headed to the playoffs.
Coming up a little later on, we're going to talk to Dave McMenamin, who covers the Lakers, and we'll ask him about Anthony Davis because that really is the big overriding factor on all of this is whether it's been injury or a rough turnaround from last year to this year.
What I want to ask B. Wood then, I mean, we know he can play the 4 or 5, Anthony Davis, but after coming off this injury, what's better for him, Brendan, right now, and being able to have the advantage, I guess, quickness-wise against the 5, but also looking at the 4 last night, he struggled guarding Pascal Siakam with that quickness at the 4 spot.
Yeah, he really struggled against Pascal. Pascal had 19 in the first quarter, 39 for the game. And Anthony Davis is known for his defense. So it's been weird to see Anthony Davis struggle because I'm not used to seeing this Anthony Davis. Even before the injury, he was only averaging about 22 points per game, around 8-9 rebounds. And while that would be great for somebody like me when I played, I would have loved to average those numbers. But for Anthony Davis, if we're being honest, those numbers are subpar for what he's been doing the last 4 to 5 seasons. So Anthony Davis started off struggling for some reason. I don't know what it is. And he struggled, obviously, coming back after the injury. And I agree with you, Smitty. I think his best position for these Lakers is the 5. Mm-hmm. And that's problematic because now you have Drummond and you have Marc Gasol there. So how do you play the rest of these guys? And it really goes back to a move they made in the offseason, letting go of JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard. Letting go of those 2 guys is coming back to haunt the Lakers right now. I know when people think about that championship team, those won't be the first names that you remember, but those guys were important to that team all throughout the season and that championship run. They're missing those guys right now.
Yeah, and don't forget Montrezl Harrell, too. They're trying to find some minutes for him. There was a game last week where he didn't even get on the court, so there is certainly a logjam, and this is what we've talked about, not just with the Lakers, Smitty. It's the case all throughout the league. When you have these injuries or when you're wisely as cautious as you are to bring these players back so they are healthy for the playoffs, it costs you the opportunity to figure out who you are going into the playoffs.
Yeah, it is, Jared. And to your point is, I just looked at the Los Angeles Lakers. They lost speed. To Brendan's point, JaVale McGee used to run the floor, a guard pick him up, and it gave other guys easy opportunities like Kyle Kuzma. Kyle Kuzma is another guy with size. They have everybody with size, but Dwight Howard cleared space. He knew he wasn't getting a lot of touches as far as just to come down and post up, but he cleared out space. I think other guys right now, they have a different style, and I don't think it fits the Los Angeles Lakers as well as those other guys did because they understood if you didn't play me, and you win Anthony Davis and LeBron at the 4, they were okay. But now you got Montrezl Harrell, you got Marc Gasol, you got Andre Drummond, you got Kuzma, you got Morris. All these guys are 6'9" and above. And then you got Anthony Davis and LeBron James. Those guys are 6'8" and 6'11". That is a huge team without anybody, without any quickness.
So let's wrap this up. We're focusing on the Lakers trying to avoid the 7 spot. There's 3 teams. There's 1 spot. It's the Lakers, who are currently in 6th, the Blazers, the Mavericks, who are currently in 5th, the Lakers, who are in 6th, and the Blazers, who are in 7th. B. Wood, which 2 of those teams avoids the play-in, and which one of those teams has to play their way into the 2021 NBA playoffs?
With the information I have right now, I think the Lakers are going to be in the play-in game. LeBron James is not going to play tonight, so there's a strong chance they don't get the win against Denver. We talk about LeBron James being out and Dennis Schroeder possibly being out. That becomes really problematic because now they don't have a point guard. Anthony Davis has not played to the level to where he can carry this Lakers team right now without LeBron James. So if I'm betting on somebody, I'm betting on Dame Lillard and Luka. Those guys right now are playing at a high level and they can carry their teams. The Lakers are in serious trouble right now.
Yeah, and I would say if my 2 teams would be the Lakers or the Mavericks. The one thing I look at the Mavericks, Luka can carry, just like B. Wood said. I'm still waiting for Porzingis. And if the Dallas Mavericks get in, I think there's so much wear and tear on Luka to carry going to the playoffs, but we've seen him. If you're a betting man right now, you have to say the Lakers. Without Dennis Schroeder 10 to 14 days, and without LeBron James tonight and possibly the next game, which I think is the Clippers, it's a tall task for the Lakers. But the Dallas Mavericks, I'm still concerned. There's Luka and who? It's supposed to be Porzingis, but you start going in the playoffs, that's going to put a lot of pressure on Luka, especially if he's in that playing game, to just carry this team by himself.
Yeah, Porzingis has missed 5 out of the last 6 games with an injury. And going back to what I was saying at the beginning, not that anybody in particular is rooting. I don't think any one of us has a rooting interest in this. But could you imagine the television ratings and the buzz around the NBA if LeBron James and the Lakers are in a 1-game playoff to get into the playoffs? That would be unbelievable.
It would be unbelievable, but the league probably wouldn't want that. I know I wouldn't want that. You know why? Because LeBron James is good for business. You don't want him to be in a situation where he could actually miss the playoffs in a playing game scenario. No. Remember the last time LeBron James was in the playoffs? The playoffs didn't have the same flair. LeBron James is
so you root for him to play his way into the playoffs.
I don't want him to be a situation, and his ankle's not all the way right. I don't want the Lakers to be in that situation. But if I was a betting man, I would bet they're going to be in the playing game. I have more faith in Dame's Blazers and Luka and the Mavericks.
You always want to control your own destiny,
right?
But if you're not playing, you can't control your own destiny,
right? Well,
that's the problem. That's where health and injury comes in, and that's where now you got to look into the next guy. Okay, now number 2 guy, Anthony Davis, has to be number 1. To be what talked about, I totally agree. Anthony Davis can lead your team. He's done that before, but he's not right. Now, who's the 3rd guy? Dennis Schroeder, he's out. Who's the 4th guy? So now you're going down the list. Is it Drummond? Is it Kuzma? Is it KCP? I don't know if those guys right now is slotted to go up 4-1, the number 1 option.
That's my mindset. And, if this happens to we end up at 6th or 5th or whatever the case may be, or if we end up in the playoff, whatever that thing is, whoever came up with that need to be fired. But whatever.
And with those words, set off a firestorm in the world of Dave McMahon, who now Dave McMenamin, McMahon, who joins us now live from L.A. Dave, reporter for ESPN covering the Lakers. What's the last 24 hours been like for you?
Well, Jared Greenberger, it's been tough. I know your real name. But
thanks, Dave.
Yeah, it's been tough. It seemed like the bottom fell out of this season all of a sudden. There was some optimism a week ago. Anthony Davis back in the lineup. He's going to be on a minute restriction coming off that calf strain and Achilles tendinosis. But the idea was get him going, then LeBron's right around the corner, and all of a sudden you're going to punch this thing for the final 10 games. But prior to Sunday's game against Toronto Raptors, the Lakers find out that Dennis Schroeder is out because of the health and safety protocol. Today, various outlets report, including us at ESPN, that it's going to be 10 to 14 days that he misses, which basically puts him out for the rest of the regular season. Now you get no LeBron because he tweaks his ankle in the second half against the Raptors. And right now, what can you hang your hat on when you go into tonight's game against the Denver Nuggets? The Nuggets, even though they lost Jamal Murray, have Michael Porter Jr. playing great. They have the likely MVP in Nikola Jokic. The Lakers right now, without the guy who was the straw that stirred the drink while both their stars were out, and Schroeder, you don't really have a guy you can rely on. Now, one positive sign from the Toronto game, Kyle Kuzma really played one of his better offensive games in months. They could use a lot more of that moving forward while they don't have their 2 most dynamic playmakers in Schroeder and LeBron James.
Let's go back to LeBron's comments about the play-in tournament. Clearly he's frustrated, dealing with an injury, dealing with his team not helping him out while he's been out. Is it just the situation that boiled over for him, or do you truly get a sense that he meant what he said and he's not happy that the NBA may make him play in to get into the playoffs?
I think he means it. When the first concept of the play-in tournament came up back in 2018 when LeBron was still a Cavalier, I asked LeBron about it, and he said he thought it was a corny idea. He thought it was the league doing too much. He said for years and years and years, the regular season is a great litmus test to determine who the most deserving teams are, and you should go based on that. Now, last year he was in favor of a play-in tournament, but that was completely different circumstance than this year. Last year, you didn't get to have that final push of the regular season in order to determine playoff positioning. The league was cut short. There was a 4.5-month hiatus. He made those comments before we even knew what the bubble was going to look like. So I know some people on Twitter are trying to play gotcha and saying LeBron's being a hypocrite. No, he was talking about a completely different set of circumstances last year when he was in favor of a play-in tournament. But when this idea came up in 2018, he's been consistent. It's not something he likes. And, it wasn't because he saw himself being in that position. It's just not something the purist in him likes. But, he's probably not going to have a choice.
Right.
The way things are going for the Lakers right now, it looks way more likely they'll be in a play-in scenario than get a 6 seed or higher outright.
We understand Anthony Davis is dealing with his own injury recovery. How much pressure, though, is on him to rise to the occasion over this last week and a half of the regular season?
It should absolutely fall on his shoulders. Now, I had a source tell me that the type of injury that Anthony's coming off of, missing 9 weeks, you should expect to have that player need 10 to 15 games before he can get his legs back. And obviously, it's only been 6 games for him so far. And Anthony spoke about the role that he finds himself in right now, that he feels like he could play 20, 25 minutes pretty strongly, but it's getting that last 10 to 12 minutes, getting that wind back, getting those legs back. That's the challenge here. And he's going to have to speed it up because, quite frankly, they need him. And honestly, you look at the scenario going on with the Nuggets, their opponent tonight, Nikola Jokic stepped up his game in the absence of Jamal Murray. Anthony Davis considered one of the best big men in the game right alongside Nikola Jokic. I understand his body has limitations, but up the willpower here because the team certainly needs him.
Dave, being up close and personal with the Lakers in the bubble last year, you would have had to have been blind to not realize the amount of joy that this team played with. Now, was it as simple as the amount of success they had? Maybe. But what is it, as close as you are to the Lakers on a daily basis, that seems like it's just emotionally a different team than they were this time last year?
I think you just got to point to the pandemic and the situation we found ourselves in, everybody involved this season. For the first half of the season, the team goes on the road. Not even the first half, maybe the first quarter of the season, the team goes on the road. There's only a few approved restaurants. You can't have your normal hangouts. Like LeBron is so good at building camaraderie and those in-between moments. And then those liberties were taken away from the team when all the teams, when there started to be positive tests popping up around the league. And so now you go on the road and you're limited to just staying in your hotel room. You didn't have all those moments to build the connective tissue that a LeBron James team usually has. And you throw in the fact that the timing of these injuries and adding in new pieces and not getting any chance to practice with them. Like the Lakers have such a backloaded schedule here to end the year. There's 4 back-to-backs in their final 9 games. It's brutal. There's no time for practice. So even if LeBron and AD were totally healthy right now, they wouldn't have time to figure out how they're going to play with Ben McLemore and Andre Drummond, if not for the games anyway. So it's just a confluence of events that right now have the defending champs on the ropes.
Last thing quickly for you, Dave, here. Do you expect LeBron to play on Thursday, or do they not even know yet?
I think it's too soon to tell. They want to see how his body responds to getting a couple more days of rest and recovery and rehab. And certainly Mike Mancias, his longtime trainer, has every medical piece of information at his fingertips and will put him through his paces and give LeBron his best chance for success. But it all comes down to how his body responds. Again, LeBron said throughout his 6-week recovery, he was sleeping less than he was working out. Now, it could be a little Paul Bunyan storytelling there, but certainly he was putting in the work, and he said he never felt the sharp pain that he felt in his first 2 games back. That's the troubling sign here. I imagine he's going to try to work hard over these next couple of days to see if he can work hard and not have that type of pain.
Well, Dave, as you know, getting your rest and your sleep is just as important as working out. So you tell LeBron to get some sleep.
You got it. Thanks, Jared.
Dave McMenamin, NBA reporter for ESPN. Sorry for butchering your name there, McTen. My bad. We're back with Brendan Haywood and Steve Smith. There's a lot going on here for the Lakers. I think there's a lot going on for a lot of teams right now.
Yeah, I think the troubling for me is having Dennis Schroeder out for that many games. And obviously them trying to hang on until he comes back. If you had no LeBron and Schroeder and AD. But I think also right now there's a lot of veterans on this team. They're going to have to step up, and the one way they can get it done, they're going to have to get stops, rebound the basketball, and be efficient. And that's the one thing they're going to have to do, because they don't get a lot of easy baskets without LeBron James and Dennis Schroeder. So you can win games when you have all these guys that have championship experience, veterans that have been around. Just got to win some ugly games and do it on the glass and in the paint.
He would. I mean, you listen to Dave McMenamin, things sound pretty bleak right there in Lakerland.
Well, they should sound pretty bleak. When your best player isn't healthy, that's a problem. LeBron James tweaked that. He has a high ankle sprain. And just from what we know about high ankle sprains, those aren't the typical type of sprains. They zap your strength. You're not able to move as quickly. And when you come back, sometimes you're not yourself. When I think of high ankle sprains, I think of football players. Guys that I know of football-wise that have had high ankle sprains lately: Michael Thomas, Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara. All of those guys are in their 20s, in their prime. And when they came back from their high ankle sprains, they didn't look nearly as effective for the rest of that season. The Lakers have to be worried about that, because we think LeBron James isn't human, but he is human. And he's a human that is 36 years old, trying to come back with a high ankle sprain and will these Lakers out of this playing game scenario. I think the situation right now for the Lakers is very bleak. LeBron isn't healthy. Schroeder is gone. Anthony Davis hasn't looked like himself. And listening to Dave McMenamin, he's still trying to play his way back into shape. Right now, I don't know what positive the Lakers can hang their hat on. And, their defense, what they used to hang their hat on, their defense has imploded as well.
Well, interesting, yeah. I mean, and that's the crazy part, that the defense is not playing well, because that was the one thing they had during that long stint of LeBron and AD being out consistently. They were still number one in defense. It was finding a way to score.
Well, you give a lot of credit defensively when you have a point guard like Dennis Schroeder. Yeah. He controls the basketball. He doesn't have those lot of blow-bys, and he influences, especially the way he likes to pick up. And I think right now is you don't get a lot of chance to practice, and that's the one thing that's hurting the Lakers right now. But without Dennis Schroeder, we look at his speed on offense, but I think also defensively, here's a guy that can control the ball, disrupt the basketball, make guys get off path, disrupt offense, and that gives your defense chance to set and also see. But when you're getting blown by, like the last game,